What is going on, guys? Carter here with Edge Mindset. We're taking a look at a cool knife from Voss Steed Cutlery. This is the Thunderbird. Now, this knife is not anything new. It's been out for a while, but it is new to me. I have not handled this thing, and I gotta say, it is pretty cool. Now, full disclaimer, this was sent to me to do a review on it, give my honest opinions of this knife, and like always, I make sure whenever I do these, when I'm dealing with these companies, I make sure they understand that I am going to say what I am going to say, right? I'm not trying to, pander to them to keep this relationship going or anything like that. Because honestly, I don't really care. I do enjoy getting stuff like this that I can do videos on and review because this is not something I would typically buy. So it gives me exposure to different knives, and I feel like it can help me hone my knife reviewing skills. I don't know why I said that. It just kind of came out and I ran with it. I couldn't back out. So this is the Thunderbird coming in from Voss Steed Cutlery. It is larger than I was expecting. It seems like most of the knives that I get my hands on in this caliber from makers like Voss Steed and Romette tend to be on the smaller side, whereas this one's actually reasonably big. It's over 3.5 inch blade. Overall length is, what is that? 8.5 inches, almost 8.5 inches, 8.25, somewhere around there. So pretty decently sized. Here it is compared to a Paramilitary 2. It's almost the same size. Almost the same size. The Thunderbird is just a hair longer, just a little bit longer. Now let's compare it to the Romette Rhino. So you can see how it's quite a bit bigger than the Romette Rhino. This particular Thunderbird has this style of G10 here. I don't know how they make this. It's really kind of cool. It has this like wood pattern orange grain in there. Looks really, really neat. It's got steel kind of inset liners. I did take this apart because I was curious how this mechanism works, and I wanted to shoot a video. It didn't work out, but it is a little bit difficult to get this thing back together. So I don't know if I'm going to do it again. But it basically has steel collars inside here, so kind of a steel liner, and then it has like a steel brace that runs down the middle. Pretty cool. I really like that touch. It means that things are screwing into steel. It also gives it extra support so that you're not going to get flex in that G10. G10's good stuff, but it can flex a little bit every once in a while. So kind of a cool construction. Let's do tip. Let's start with the tip. So we have an S35VN blade steel, which is another interesting kind of choice on this. I would have expected M390, but it is S35VN. There it says Thunderbird right there. You've got an opening hole. You've got a nice fuller running right there, which looks pretty cool. Also lightens the blade. It is technically a compound ground blade, but it's very, very slight. Like you can barely tell it's hollow ground back here. It's basically flat. If you didn't know it was hollow ground, you might not be able to even tell. And then it transitions into a flat up here, and you can just barely see that curve right there as it transitions. So kind of interesting they went with a compound grind at all. Maybe it has to do with kind of efficiency on building the blades. It just kind of made sense to do that. This has kind of that, my least favorite finish, right? Where you can see the machine ground coarseness there, but then it's kind of been buffed out. It's just a personal taste thing. I just don't really love it. And then there's not really any contrast between the flats and the grinds. So from an aesthetic standpoint, it's not my favorite finish for a blade, but that doesn't affect functionality whatsoever, which I think is the primary goal of this particular knife. This is an EDC cutting tool. That's what it's for. But I do like to point out different aesthetic choices when I get a chance to. You've got this nice little belly up at the tip, comes to a point. You can see how it's nice and robust, but not overly thick. Same with the blade stock there. You've got some jimping back here that's pretty much worthless, but it is on a ramp, so it does give you a little bit of something to kind of push up against between the ramp and the jimping there. Thumb hole opening, which is reasonably easy to get to. I've got pretty thick fingers, but I can still open this up without too much problems. Thumb is probably the hardest one to get into. It takes me a second to make sure see, I missed it there. Make sure I'm all the way in there. But this knife has a ton of opening options. You've got front flipper and you've got rear flipper, and the rear flipper in particular works really well because you get this leverage up high. I mean, look how high you are from that pivot. And so it creates just a super snappy, fast action with a nice thud when it opens up. Stop pins, it's running on an internal stop pin that goes through a channel right here. That's how that works. So it's not anything back here. This is the closed stop pin position, but the open stop pin position is on a channel inside here. Now this is a button lock, but it's a little bit different than most like button style plunge locks you'll see. This is not a compression lock with a button that goes through, similar to the RS Chaos. This is something different, and in fact, I believe it's a patent pending thing, so it's kind of a new thing. I took it apart, and this also runs through a channel inside the blade, well, up here. So there's a channel that goes through here. This goes through the blade onto the other side. There's a spring in here, just like a plunge lock would. And then this underneath here is kind of like it's like a radiused bowl. And so it pushes it up. So when you open it, see how the button pops out just a little bit, actually pops in just a little bit, allows it to go around. And then when it gets into place, you'll see that button pop out right there. And it's basically a hole, and then there's kind of this dish bowl thing that pops in and out. So this is locked, this is unlocked, locked, unlocked. I don't know how robust of a locking mechanism this is. There is a little bit of up and down play. Like, I don't think you can hear it, but I can feel it kind of wiggle a little bit. And I think it's just this slightly unseating from that kind of dish bowl thing in there. I did some light spine whacking on it, no issues. I think it's going to hold up for any sort of normal use. It's not going to fail on you. But I am curious, whenever you have a new style lock, you do kind of wonder why. What is the benefit of going with this system here as opposed to a normal plunge lock? Most people understand that plunge locks are not the strongest. It's not the most robust locking mechanism. So I don't know if this is supposed to provide a little bit more strength, or if it's simply just doing it for the sake of doing it, just to do something different. Because at first I was thinking maybe it was less parts. Maybe they didn't have a coil spring like a plunge lock, but they do. So internally, it's very similar in terms of number of parts and kind of the spring and everything. So I am curious as to the driver for making a lock like this. Or was it just the design? Could they not fit a plunge lock in here and kind of do these other things? And so then they realized, well, actually, if we kind of modify the way plunge locks work and have it go through the tang of the blade, everything will fit together and we can do the knife design we want with a button lock. Who knows? Running on bearings, super smooth. I mean, it has that button bearing action, right? Where it just drops and then tinks down. It's so much fun to play with knives like this. Just that sound too, like that ting. I really, really like it. And the back flipper action, like I said before, is super satisfying. Front flipper, I'm not the best front flipper. This one isn't the best for me. I kind of struggle with it a little bit. And it's not that I can't do it, it just isn't as fun as the other opening methods and as fun as some other front flippers that I've experienced. But that's just me, potentially, and not you. Flattened bent steel pocket clip right there. Deep carry, not set super low, so you're looking about that much, which is just fine. I don't love deep carry pocket clips from a look standpoint, but I know a lot of people like them, so you may like that. You can reverse this. It's got a tab here. Everything is nice and flush. Some cool little design flourishes here and there on this thing. You've got chamfering going on. Ergonomics feel pretty good. It is kind of a slim handle, so if you got really big hands, it might feel not bad, but just, a little less substantial in your hand. But it is kind of a cool, slim, long profile, which is kind of a good feel, in my opinion. Let's get weight. Haven't even done weight. This thing is super light. Being mostly G10 with just that little steel thing going through there. 3.5 ounces. So for a knife this big, I don't know. I'm pretty impressed with that. I think that's pretty good. Price point on this, I believe it's just over $100, like $130, something like that. Not too bad. Personally, the only thing that kind of keeps me from really digging this blade is just kind of the aesthetics of some of the things on there, like the The blade finish I don't love. If this had a nice kind of dark wash or even just more pronounced grind lines or something, I would probably dig it more. But like I said, that's just me. You may not care at all. But overall, it's kind of cool. And it's super fidgety, super fun. I think the price is on point. The materials and the quality are pretty good. And it's got a name like Thunderbird. You can't go wrong with that. All right, guys, that's it. Overview done. Another one in the books. Thank you for all your support. Like, comment, subscribe. I like talking to you guys. Appreciate everything you guys do. Take care. Have a good one. Catch you later.